Abyssinian Baptist Church, Harlem, April 1961. Bumpy Johnson was kneeling at the altar when 20 of Joe Bonanno's soldiers walked in and formed a circle around him. Guns drawn. Safeties off. The priest ran. The congregation scattered. But when Bumpy started speaking into that empty church, what he confessed made Bonanno's toughest killers put their guns away and kneel beside him. April 16th, 1961. Easter Sunday. Bumpy Johnson hadn't been to church in 3 years, but something made him walk into Abyssinian Baptist that morning. Maybe it was his mother's voice in his head. Maybe it was the cancer eating at his lungs. Maybe it was just the weight of 30 years of blood on his hands. The church was empty at 6 a.m. Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. wasn't there yet. The choir hadn't arrived. Just Bumpy, his God, and his guilt. He walked down the center aisle, his footsteps echoing off the vaulted ceiling. 14 rows of oak pews on each side, stained glass windows showing the stations of the cross. The altar covered in white lilies for Easter. Bumpy knelt at the altar, not in the pews like a regular parishioner, but right there on the cold marble steps. His knees protested. He was 55 years old, his body carrying more scars than most men had memories. But he knelt anyway. What Bumpy didn't know was that Joe Bonanno had been watching him for 3 days, following him, waiting. Bonanno had a problem. Someone in Harlem was feeding information to the FBI about the Commission's heroin routes. The drugs came from Sicily, through Montreal, down to New York. But lately, the feds were intercepting shipments with surgical precision. They knew routes, dates, quantities. Someone was talking. Bonanno suspected Bumpy. Not because Bumpy was a snitch. Everyone knew Bumpy would die before turning rat. But Bumpy controlled Harlem, and nothing moved through Harlem without his knowledge. If someone was talking, Bumpy would know who. And if Bumpy wasn't giving up that name, then Bumpy was protecting them. That made Bumpy either an accomplice or an obstacle. Either way, Bonanno had decided Bumpy had to go. The church door opened at 6:15 a.m. Not loud, not dramatic, just 20 men filing in like they were coming for morning service. They spread out, covering every exit. 10 men took the balcony. 10 stayed on the ground floor. They moved like professionals. No talking, no wasted motion. Just surrounding their target with methodical precision. Bumpy heard them. Of course he heard them. You don't survive 30 years in the game without knowing the sound of death approaching. The slight squeak of a shoulder holster. The specific weight of footsteps trying to be quiet. The way the air changes when men with violent intentions enter a sacred space. But Bumpy didn't move. Didn't run. Didn't even look up. He stayed on his knees, hands clasped, head bowed. Joe Bonanno himself walked in last. 66 years old, wearing a charcoal suit with a rose in his lapel. He walked down the center aisle, his cane clicking against the floor. When he reached Bumpy, he stopped. "Hello, Bumpy. Joe, you know why I'm here. I know why you think you're here." Bonanno pulled out a .38 special, chrome with pearl handles. "Someone's talking to the feds. Someone in Harlem." "Yeah," Bumpy said, still not looking up. "Someone is." Bonanno pressed the gun against the back of Bumpy's head. "Give me the name." "Can't do that, Joe." The click of 20 hammers being pulled back echoed through the church. Every soldier had their weapon trained on Bumpy. 10 from the balcony, 10 from the ground floor. 20 different angles. No escape. "You protecting a rat, Bumpy." Bonanno's voice was calm, almost conversational. "That's not like you." "I'm not protecting anyone." "Then give me the name." Father Thomas walked in through the side door, carrying communion wafers. He took one look at the scene. 20 armed men, Bumpy on his knees, guns everywhere, and dropped the silver plate. Wafers scattered across the floor like coins. He ran back out without a word. "Last chance, Bumpy," Bonanno said. "The name, or I paint this altar with your brains." Bumpy finally raised his head, but he didn't look at Bonanno. He looked at the cross hanging above the altar. "You know what today is, Joe. Easter Sunday." "That's right. The day Christ rose from the dead. The day everything changed." Bumpy's voice was steady, no fear in it. "You want to know who's talking to the feds? I'll tell you. But first, I need to confess something. This ain't the time for prayers, Bumpy. Not to God, Joe. To you." Bonanno hesitated. In 30 years of running the Bonanno family, no one had ever responded to a death threat with a confession. He nodded to his men to hold their positions. Bumpy shifted on his knees, turning slightly so he could see Bonanno in his peripheral vision. "3 months ago, your son Bill came to me. Said he was tired of waiting for you to step down. Said he had plans to modernize the family. Take it in new directions." Bonanno's grip tightened on the gun. Bill was his pride and joy, being groomed to take over the family. "You're lying. He offered me 30% of the heroin trade if I helped him take you out. Showed me routes, schedules, police payoffs, everything I'd need to know to move product through Harlem without interference. My son would never—" "Your son thinks you're weak, Joe. Thinks the old ways are dying. He's been meeting with the other families, Gambino, Lucchese, even crazy Joe Gallo. They're all waiting for him to make his move." The church was silent except for the sound of 20 men breathing. Bonanno's hand started shaking, not from age, but from rage. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Bumpy asked. "How did I know about the Montreal route, the Sicily connection, the Tuesday night shipments through the Bronx? Your son told me everything, Joe, and I've been sitting on it, waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For you to show up here with guns, thinking I'm your problem, when the real problem is sleeping in your house, eating at your table, planning your funeral. You're trying to turn me against my own blood," Bonanno said, but doubt had crept into his voice. "I'm trying to save your life, Joe." Bumpy reached into his jacket pocket. 20 fingers tightened on triggers. He pulled out a small notebook, weathered leather, and tossed it on the altar steps. "Your son's handwriting. Dates, times, names of everyone he's recruiting for the coup. Check page 12. That's where he discusses killing you at your grandson's communion next month." Bonanno picked up the notebook with his free hand, keeping the gun on Bumpy. He flipped through it. His face went from skeptical to pale to furious. It was Bill's handwriting. He'd recognize it anywhere. The details were too specific to be fake. Routes only family knew. Security procedures for the Bonanno compound. The location of Joe's personal safe. "Where did you get this?" "From Bill's car. After he got drunk at Rouse and told Tommy Lucchese's nephew that the old man, that's you, Joe, would be gone by summer." One of Bonanno's soldiers, a young kid named Anthony, spoke up from the balcony. "Boss, I saw Bill at Rouse last Tuesday with the Lucchese crew." Another soldier, Sal, added, "He's been taking meetings without you. Said you approved them." Bonanno's gun hand dropped to his side. The rage was building, but it wasn't directed at Bumpy anymore. "Why didn't you come to me with this?" "Because you wouldn't have believed me. You'd have thought I was trying to divide your family. You needed to come here, ready to kill me, before you'd listen." Bumpy finally stood up, his knees cracking. "Besides, I had my own decision to make." "What decision?" "Whether to let your son kill you or warn you." Bumpy turned to face Bonanno fully. "See, with you gone and Bill in charge, I'd make millions. He's young, greedy, doesn't understand respect. He'd flood Harlem with heroin, destroy my community for profit. But he'd make me rich. So why warn me?" "Because you're old school, Joe. You understand boundaries. You know Harlem is mine, and you respect that. Bill doesn't respect anything except money." The church door opened again. 3 more of Bonanno's men entered, dragging someone between them. It was Bill Bonanno, 29 years old, his face bloody, his expensive suit torn. They threw him on the floor at his father's feet. "We found him packing a bag," one of the soldiers said. "Had 50 grand and a ticket to Miami. One way." Bill looked up at his father, then at Bumpy, then at the 20 guns now pointed at him instead of Bumpy. "Papa, I can explain." "Explain?" Joe Bonanno's voice was ice. "Explain how you plan to kill me at my grandson's communion? Explain how you've been meeting with my enemies? Explain how you sold out everything I built?" "The FBI!" Bill suddenly shouted. "The FBI informant! It's not Bumpy! I know who it is!" "The informant is you," Bill screamed, pointing at his father. "You've been talking to the FBI." The church went dead silent. Even the morning light through the stained glass seemed to freeze. 20 soldiers looked at each other, then at Joe Bonanno, then at Bill bleeding on the floor. The accusation hung in the air like incense. Joe Bonanno laughed, not a happy laugh, the kind that comes right before someone dies. "You little shit. You try to flip this on me?" "Check his coat." Bill was desperate now, crawling backward on the church floor. "Left pocket. He's been carrying FBI contact cards." One of the soldiers, Sal, looked at Bonanno. "Boss, don't you dare," Bonanno warned. But Sal was already moving. He reached into Bonanno's left coat pocket and pulled out 3 white business cards. FBI Special Agent John McKnight. The soldiers stepped back like the cards were radioactive. "Those aren't mine," Bonanno said. "They're in your pocket," Bill shouted. Bumpy watched the whole thing unfold from the altar. He'd seen this play before. When a crime family starts eating itself, everyone bleeds. But something was off. The cards were too convenient. Bill's desperation too theatrical. "Joe," Bumpy said quietly, "when did you put on that coat?" "This morning, from my closet." Bonanno's eyes widened. "Bill was in my room last night. Said he was looking for cufflinks." Bill scrambled to his feet and ran for the door. He made it 3 steps before Bumpy clotheslined him, sending him crashing into the pews. The impact echoed through the church. "Here's what really happened," Bumpy said, standing over Bill. "You're not the informant. Your father's not the informant. But you knew Joe was coming for me today. You planted those cards knowing someone would search him, create chaos, make the family question everything." "You don't know shit," Bill spat blood. "I know you called the FBI 30 minutes ago." Bumpy pulled out a slip of paper. "Payphone on 125th Street. Told them there'd be a mob meeting at Abyssinian Baptist at 6:30. They're probably surrounding the building right now." As if on cue, sirens became audible in the distance, getting closer. "Feds," one of the balcony soldiers shouted. "Coming up Malcolm X Boulevard." Panic. 20 soldiers looking for exits. Joe Bonanno standing frozen, staring at his son like he was looking at a stranger. Bill trying to crawl away. And Bumpy, calm as Sunday morning, walking back to the altar. "Joe," Bumpy called out, "you've got maybe 90 seconds before they seal the building." "There's no back exit," Bonanno said. "We're trapped." "No," Bumpy smiled. "You're trapped. This is my church, my neighborhood, and I know every brick, every board, every secret this building holds." He walked to the altar, grabbed the golden cross, and twisted it. A section of floor opened up, revealing stairs going down into darkness. "Prohibition Tunnel," Bumpy explained. "Leads to a speakeasy basement 3 blocks away. Your boys can make it if they move now." The soldiers didn't need to be told twice. They rushed toward the tunnel, disappearing into the darkness one by one. But Joe Bonanno didn't move. He stood there, gun still in his hand, looking at his son. "Papa, please," Bill begged. "The FBI—" "Go with them," Bonanno said to his men. "All of you. Boss, we're not leaving you. Go." The last soldier disappeared down the tunnel. The sirens were right outside now. Car doors slamming. Federal agents shouting commands. In 30 seconds, they'd be through the doors. Bonanno grabbed Bill by the throat and dragged him to the altar. My own son, my blood. You'd let me rot in federal prison. I was trying to save the family, Bill choked out. The old ways are dying. We need to modernize, make deals. With the FBI, Bonanno pressed the gun under Bill's chin. You'd make deals with the FBI? Bumpy watched from the tunnel entrance. Joe, you got 15 seconds. I'm not running. Bonanno's voice was calm now, decided. Let them come. The church doors exploded open. 20 FBI agents poured in, guns drawn, screaming, Freeze! Nobody move! Bonanno dropped his gun, raised his hands. Bill scrambled away from his father, running toward the agents. I'm the one who called. I'm cooperating. I want immunity. Special Agent McKnight, the name from the cards, stepped forward. Joseph Bonanno, you're under arrest for racketeering, murder conspiracy, and— Wait, Bonanno interrupted. I want to make a statement. Save it for your lawyer. No, now, in this church, on Easter Sunday, in front of God and everyone. Bonanno's voice carried through the church. I confess. Everyone froze. Even the FBI agents stopped moving. I confess to running illegal gambling in Brooklyn. I confess to extortion, to bribery, to conspiracy. Bonanno was looking at Bill as he spoke. But the person you really want is my son, Bill Bonanno. He's been running heroin from Sicily through Montreal. Every shipment, every route, every dead kid in Harlem from an overdose, that's on him. Papa, no! Bill screamed. Check his apartment, Bonanno continued. Behind the refrigerator. You'll find ledgers, photos, enough evidence to put him away for life. McKnight looked between father and son. Why are you telling us this? Because I'm old school, Bonanno said, echoing Bumpy's earlier words. We had rules. No drugs. No killing civilians. No cooperating with feds. My son broke all three. So I'm breaking him. Bumpy stepped out from behind the altar. The FBI agents all swung their guns toward him. Ellsworth Johnson, McKnight said. Should have known you'd be here. It's Easter Sunday, Agent McKnight. Can't a man pray in peace? You're all under arrest. For what? Bumpy asked. Being in church? You got any evidence I committed a crime today? McKnight hesitated. They'd rushed here on Bill's tip. No warrants. No preparation. That's what I thought. Bumpy walked past the agents like they weren't even there. Happy Easter, gentlemen. He walked out the front door into the morning sun, leaving chaos behind him. The aftermath was biblical. Joe Bonanno pled guilty to racketeering, got 5 years, served 3. He never ran the family again. But prison wasn't his punishment. Living with his son's betrayal was. Bill Bonanno got 25 to life on heroin trafficking charges. The FBI found everything exactly where Joe said it would be. Ledgers, photos, even recorded conversations of Bill planning his father's murder. The evidence was so overwhelming that Bill's lawyers told him to take a deal. He refused. He got the maximum sentence. The real twist came 6 months later. Bumpy was sitting in his office above the Apollo Theater when Agent McKnight walked in. No warrant, no backup, just him and a briefcase. We need to talk, McKnight said. About what? McKnight opened the briefcase. Inside were surveillance photos, transcripts, and audio reels, all focused on one person, Bill Bonanno. You gave us everything, McKnight said. The notebook in the church, the tip about Bill's apartment, even the planted FBI cards. You orchestrated the whole thing. Bumpy lit a cigar. That's a nice story. It's more than a story. Bill was flooding Harlem with heroin. You wanted him gone but couldn't move against a Bonanno without starting a war. So you played father against son. Let them destroy each other. Even if that was true, and I'm not saying it is, what do you want? McKnight pulled out a document. Immunity. Full and complete. Sign this, become an informant, and you'll never see the inside of a cell again." Bumpy looked at the paper for a long moment. Then he laughed. "You think I survived this long by making deals with the federal government? You just helped us put away Bill Bonanno. No, I helped Joe Bonanno protect his family's honor. There's a difference." Bumpy stood up, walked to his window overlooking 125th Street. "Bill was bad for business, bad for Harlem, but I didn't do it for you. I did it for this." He gestured at the street below, the people, the community. "Heroin would have destroyed everything I built. Sometimes you got to choose between two devils. I chose the one that would leave Harlem alone." McKnight gathered his materials. "This isn't over, Johnson." "It never is." After McKnight left, Bumpy made a call to Sing Sing Prison, got connected to Joe Bonanno. "That confession in the church," Bonanno said. "That was beautiful, Shakespearean. It was necessary. You saved my life, Bumpy. My son would have killed me within the month." "I didn't do it for you, Joe. I know. You did it for Harlem, but I still owe you." "No," Bumpy said. "We're even. Your family stays out of Harlem's heroin trade, and I forget what I know about your other operations." "Agreed." Bumpy hung up. He'd played the FBI, the Bonanno family, and Bill against each other. And Harlem remained his. The real confession that Easter Sunday wasn't about sin or redemption. It was about power. And Bumpy Johnson had just proved he had more of it than anyone realized.